What up, guys? Here is another tutorial brought to you by Mike. Um, in this one, we're going to be modeling uh, this spoon right here, this big boy. And before I go straight into it, whenever I'm modeling, I don't really know precisely how to model these, right? I haven't like made a spoon before, so I, you got to do a little bit of free ball when it comes down to it. But an important thing to do before you get into it is kind of think about how you're gonna approach this. So like this section right here to this is gonna be basically a cylinder. Um, it has like a little bit of this flatness to it. So we're gonna, of course, start with a square to keep that kind of more boxy shape. And then, so I like to think about it in terms of wireframe as well. When you press 4 on the keyboard, it helps visualize it. Well, I'm going to draw on top of this to help you visualize it. So if we have a series of edges, also known as an edge loop right here, and one right here, and then there have to be a wireframe connecting it right down here, and it kind of tapers in towards the center, so there's going to be some edge loops here and here and here to get that nice swooping shape, right? Then we get down to here. This is going to be this inset circle shape, or oval rather, is going to be an extrusion, right? Because we need to get a loop here as well, right, to make this shape. So a loop of edges has to exist there, right? Like having some verts here, having some vertices right there. And the best way to make that is going to be an extrusion, and when you extrude and pull in, like how we did on uh, the top of the cup to make the actual inside of it, you extrude in, so there's going to be some edges there going like that, and there will probably be one down the middle because that's how we like to work. We like to work symmetrically whenever we can. And then basically, if you look at this nice little dish part, it's pretty much a similar setup to this, right? But instead of going that far in, because since we have to punch a hole down there, those verts have to be there, we have this nice little like lip shape right here, and that goes around there, right? And forgive me, I'm doing this with a mouse, not the best 2D instrument, but we'll get it done. So then, and we need this outline, right, this silhouette as well. So we're going to do the same thing that we did for here and extrude in from these faces in order to make this. That'll be the easiest way to make that, because whenever you know you're going to be making one of these loops on the inside, it's really easy to just extrude in. But be careful, guys, because remember, whenever you extrude, you got to immediately move that or mess with it somehow, or otherwise you're going to get those overlapping extrusions, right? And then that messes up your model. You got to do some merging of vertices and all that jazz. It's nice to just be aware of it and then not have to worry about it. And then it dips in, right? So we're probably going to extrude again and then pull that next edge loop in deeper so we can get that nice dish shape, So when we extrude, it's going to pull those edges in. Use shift click so we can get some cleaner lines in here. There we go. 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 And there we go. There we go. All right. And then we're gonna have a weird shape right here, right? And like, how do we resolve that? Well, then we're gonna have to use the mesh fill hole method to fill all this up, and then we're gonna start drawing across it. Like, of course, this one needs to go vertically to match this top middle one, and then if we scroll in, we have to make the rest of these quads, right? So, 1 second, I'm gonna erase that right there. Ah, erase part of the spoon. All right, we're just gonna leave it then. So we have one vertex right here, like all these cross sections, like right here. That's a vert. This is a vert. This is a vert, because these are our edges, right? So we're looking to make quads out of these. So if you count up the verts, or these cross sections, you'll have 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 right here, but we need this to be a quad. So we're gonna have to cut across, and then that'll be our 4th vert to make a quad right here. Same for here. Same for this. Like, look, we have 1, 2, 3. Then we have to make a 4th right here. And this is symmetrical, right? So we can just keep going with that same logic. We can go right here, and then we can go right here. And then let's see, down here we have 1, 2, 3, and then we'll need the 4th, because if we included this one, then like look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So if we make this, and right there, you'll see that these become quads as well, and we have our nice spoon. But that, I mean, that looks like garbage, but you'll see in Maya. Oh gosh, let me close this. Let me close this bad boy out. Don't mind him, he's just a little mushroom guy. New scene. Alright, so using our nice little roadmap we made, I'm going to get started on that. Now, I would normally bring in that picture if I wanted to be completely accurate to it, but like this is just demonstration purposes, you know. So we don't have to be super accurate. So I'm going to start with a cube. Make that cube. Scale that boy down, because the handle is going to be pretty thin compared to the rest of it. And we have, I just went into face mode. My text is super tiny because I'm coming from a 4K monitor, and Maya's like really janky about that. So we have to make the neck of the spoon, right? Like the spoon overall, the spoon's overall shape is going to be something like this. And then we're going to need to make that bottom bit right here. This will eventually be that little inset thing. So you can see I have basically this to this, and then I just made that last part right there. And then I'm going to go to my modeling toolkit and go into multi-cut tool. And make one right down the center, because we like to work with symmetry whenever we can, you know. Now I'm just going to select those verts, because you'll see in our picture that it's kind of a rounded edge. So let's go for that type of shape. And that's looking pretty good. Alright. Then we have to have more geo here, right? So I'm just going to extrude that. Do the classic extrude. And let's get that ratio kind of close to what we were doing before in Photoshop. So we need a little bit longer. We need to be in this part at least. And I think their spoon is skinnier than ours, like in terms of on the y-axis. I think it's a bit skinnier. So I'm going to select everything or I could just go into object mode and just go into scale and just scale on the Y, you know. Now you have that skinnier spoon. And if we go here, get that full extension, we need some geometry to go out, right? Because we need to make, like, we basically have right now a stick that goes this entire distance, and then we need to extrude it out to these sides to make, or at least to make that geo. Oops. So we can either extrude this way and then pull on like that, or we could also, I'm gonna wait until I see poly extrude undone, that way I don't have overlapping faces. We could also just cut in here like this and scale that up. Either way is going to work, right? That would be mostly a matter of preference, but you will have to worry about if I duplicate this and then if I go into this face, turn on vert snapping up here, remember pressing V, I bring that back in to kind of mimic how it looked before. And then if I delete it and go into vert mode, you'll see those sneaky verts still there. You can delete those over as well. So this is that first method that I was talking about. If I just go like this, and then if I scale on Z to kind of bring those in, you can see the difference now between these. It's like look at how this loop extends past right here, and then this one doesn't. So then you have that continuous loop around here, but then in this, like so for instance, if I tried to multi-cut down the length of it, it would go like that. And that's pretty nice. But in here, if I do it like that, then it makes this part more dense in terms of edges, and I'm not a big fan of that. So I think I'm gonna go with this type of setup. So sorry about that. That was just me kind of thinking aloud on how I'm going to do that. So for this part, I'm going to get a subdivision right down the middle of this. You can do that by holding Control and Shift to enable snapping. So I'm going to snap right there, make it go like that. I'm going to select these outside verts, go into scale mode with R, and kind of bring that out to make that nice spoon shape, you know. And you'll notice that these verts up here kind of like they come to a point, and in our Photoshop file, there's not. It's a very round surface. So what we got to do is we have to kind of shift click those, and then I'm gonna go into scale mode. And kind of just bring those around like that, you know. So that's going to work out for us pretty nicely. I'm going to do the same down here because I want a more gradual movement into the rest of the spoon. And here we go. Here we go. There we go. Let's get a nice appealing shape right there. And kind of scale the whole thing down, you know, to make it a little bit thinner. There you go. That's looking like a nice cooking spoon. All right. So now we got that so far. If I go So now if we go back to our little picture, we had this little lip, right? Like you can see the lip on this one as well. On this nice family of spoons, you can see the lip. So we gotta make that. And remember I said that we're gonna extrude in to make that, correct? So now, going to extrude, and I'm going to pull in. I'm going to go scale. I'm going to scale it down with the middle cube. Remember, scale mode is R. So now we have that lip that I was talking about, right? And in this one, I kind of overestimated how long this span is, but it might work out that way in the end, but we'll see. So it's going to look a little bit different, but right now I scale that down like that. And then I'm going to do another extrusion. So, right, we have all those faces. And, like, we could potentially just move this down like that. But, like I want to make that nice lip shape that we see in the regular spoon. So I'm going to extrude again. Go into R, scale mode. Bring that down. And I'm going to undo that. Undo. I just undid the extrusion. You can see right there. I could just go into this and then change offset as well. You get a bunch of options as well, like thickness, local Z translate, like. But I find when I'm scaling like this, I have more control over the surface. You know, like look, I can just go at any distance that I want there. So that's why you see me going back into scale mode so much, straight out an extrusion. So I'm gonna make this tinier because it's like the very bottom, right? It's like, well, I mean, looks nice. Oh, remember how if your models are looking like all rigid like this, you can go into I'm in rigging mode. Go back to your modeling menu, and then go to mesh display, soften edge. So then we get some nice soft edges there. But like this kind of just, you can see that this kind of just goes down to that point when I want it to more nicely swoop inward. So I'm going to add a subdivision in there, right? And I'm going to double click that to select the entire edge loop that we just placed. And I'm going to just kind of pull that down. Pull that down on Y. And so there we go. That's looking nice. That's looking nice. Alright, and then let's preview 3, see what's going on. Yeah, so you can see what a smoothed out version of this is going to look like. And it's going along. I like that. So let's go back into 1 mode. Now we got to get that hole that goes the whole way through, right? And that's going to be easiest if we get both of these faces. If we go into 4 mode, you can see the wireframe. You can see that we have both the top 2 and the bottom 2 faces selected, right? And then we just extrude those. And then if we go into scale mode, and if we try to scale by all axes, you're going to see that it insets like that. Like it starts to go deep into the mesh, but we don't want that. We want that to stay on the surface. So if we instead use the little green box, and then bring that in, and then delete, you'll see we have the start of our hole right here. And then let's go into edge mode. Double click that edge to select the entire loop. Double click this edge to select the entire loop. And if we bridge, we'll have a nice complete hole. And in the photo, you'll notice that it's kind of this oblong, round, oval shape. So in order to get that, we're going to need to move this edge back, right? Because otherwise it's going to look like just very flat. So we've got to get a nice little bit of roundness in there. And then you'll notice that once again, it kind of looks weird like this. So we're gonna go to mesh display, soften edge. You'll see that it's softened up, right? So it looks, we get a little bit of weird artifacting in there, but that's fine for now. But if you see that, if I go back, if you see this type of appearance, then that probably means, if you see this type of appearance and then you soften edge and it doesn't change it, that means that there's probably some weird extrusions that are on top of each other, like if I multi-cut here, and then do that, but then you see how I didn't move it, and it made that weird extrusion. Like, so it's kind of that's a good way to kind of locate those pesky extrusions that end up being problematic for the mesh. So we also have a nice gentle swoop, right, from the rest of the spoon, and that swoop actually kind of starts from here. So I'm gonna move these verts out, right, or at least I would want to. But then if I do that, you'll see that the entire length of it changes, you know. So I'm gonna first, before moving those verts, make a nice little edge loop right here, so then the rest of this geometry doesn't get affected when we start to move these verts. And there we go. You see that? You see that? All right. So I'm gonna go smooth the mesh out because I forgot to re-smooth it again, or smooth the normals out. So I'm gonna soften edge. There we go. Now if we go on the bottom of this, you'll see that it's completely flat, and that's not how our spoon is probably gonna look. Even though we only have one perspective in that photo, we can probably guess that the spoon's gonna be a bit round on the bottom. So I'm gonna make an extrusion off these, kind of pull it down, and then scale in again. You'll see that it's pretty much a similar setup to what we have on top. I'm going to push this back to start that dip a little bit earlier. If you see here, they're kind of like a little bit parallel for my taste. So I'm going to move that right there. Go back into multi-cut. Get this going. Double click that edge loop that we just made, and then move that down. That's looking pretty good now. And let's go into 3. See where we're at. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Pretty good. Also, yeah, don't forget to name this. So, spoon. Wooden spoon. There we go. How's that for specificity? Wooden spoon. Whoops. So now let's talk some improvements. So when we go into 3, like, we have a pretty good base right here, right? But if you go into 3 mode, you're gonna see that that lip doesn't really hold up. This one kind of gets really smoothed out as well. So if you remember, we do that by having those retaining edge loops. So in 3 mode, you'll be able to see it in real time. If I insert an edge loop, let me go into 1. Actually, I can go into 2 so you can see both at the same time. So that's our smooth version, the one that's not like the blue highlights. So if I go up to this edge, the edge of that spoon, the outer edge, and then insert an edge loop real quick right here, you'll see how that the smooth version kind of got a little bit closer to it, right? That's good. That's exactly what we want. And so I'm going to do that right here as well to kind of keep strengthening that edge. I'm going to do it here because if you go into total 3, you'll see that it dips in, but you don't get to see much of that edge. Because, like, look here, you can see like a very clear outline, right? So we want to have that in. We want to have that set into our mesh, so we need a retaining edge loop right there. you'll see now what I'm talking about. Now you can actually start to see that edge right there. And you'll notice that this circle is a little bit not, it's going to need some retaining edge loops as well, right? Because it's kind of falling apart. So I'm going to Control E, I mean not Control E, just Control click, Control click, Control click, and Control click. And then if we press 3, you'll see that loop is a lot more solid now. And we got a spoon. Hell yeah, my guys. That's what I like to see, you know. Let's give this a scale. If we're going to edge mode. Actually, no. What we're going to do instead is multi-cut, because I'm trying to get this gentle curve that then tapers out. So it goes about down to there. So if I now scale this new edge that I've made, yeah, there we go, that's what I'm talking about. And then if I select all this bottom part and scale that up, there we go. Now let's see what that looks like with 3 on. Yeah, there we go. Now we have that gentle, like, that nice swoop right there. That's how you model a spoon, right? There's going to be more tutorials to come. It'll be fantastic. Don't worry about it. You guys got this. I got faith. You just got to get a nice handle of multi-cut, extrude, and bridge. Like those are the most important ones for now, because we didn't even touch like these other tools, right? Like we have all these other tools, but we didn't even touch them. So I really want you guys to get the hang of multi-cut and bridge, but all of these tools are going to have their own usage. But for now, to make this nice little spoon, that's all we need. All right.